Are you ready to improve your Python and data analysis skills? Introducing Code April, a 30-day Python programming challenge with Promise Ekeh. This April, embark on a transformative 30-day journey with our Code April challenge. Every day, you'll receive expert tips on essential topics, access valuable resources, and tackle exciting challenges. By the end of the challenge, you'll be equipped with the skills to perform fundamental data analysis with stunning visualizations. Don't miss out. Sign up now and join us for Code April. Let's code our way to success.
Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Promise Ekeh, and on this channel we talk about data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other technological advancements. If this is your first time seeing me or coming across my content, make sure you click on the subscribe button to be part of this community. In April, I launched a 30-day Python programming for data analysis, on a 30-day challenge on Python programming for data analysis. That challenge was aimed to help professionals or participants improve their Python programming skills and also data analysis skills, where every day for the 30 days resources, we had areas of focus and resources and exercises was sent to participants for them to attempt and solve, and we had a community where we interacted to attempt the challenge together. It was a very fun and interesting community. If you were part of that challenge, if you participated in the challenge, let me see in the comment section and tell us how you found the challenge, and just encourage other people that couldn't be part of the challenge. In this video, I'll be walking through my solutions for the 30-day challenge. So for every day we had exercises. I'll be walking you through the solutions for the 30 days. Let me know in the comment section if you participated in the challenge and which day was the most difficult and how you found it in general. I'll be breaking down the solution videos into 6 parts. So the first 4 parts will be week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And the last 2 would be my solutions to the capstone project I provided. So we provided 2 projects for the participant to pick one of the 2. So I'll be solving the 2 projects. I'll be attempting the 2 projects as well as the solutions for the 30-day exercise. And also I'll put in a link in the description box to the GitHub, my GitHub, where you can download the notebook I'll be using for this tutorial. For this tutorial, I'll be using VS Code, Visual Studio Code. I find it more interesting. I'm using my Python notebook but on the VS Code platform. Okay, so the first day, day 1 was focused on introduction to Python programming. So the first day exercise was what is Python and why is it used in data analysis. So I'm using different screens, so if you see me looking either way, just know I'm looking at different screens and I'm not trying to look away from you. So the first question was what is Python. Python is a general purpose language. It's a high-level object-oriented general purpose language, and it's used for different things. It has easy syntax, it's user-friendly. I have a video where I talked about Python. I'll also put a link for you to go watch if you really want to understand what Python is and why it's preferred in data analysis and data science. So I'll just touch a brief on it, but if you want more explanation, just go watch that video. So the first question is what is Python and why is it used for data analysis? Python is a high-level object-oriented programming language. It's very important for data analysis, or very useful for data analysis, because it has an extensive library for data analysis. So you have NumPy, Pandas, different data analysis libraries that you can use, and also it's very easy to learn. You have easy syntax that is close to human language, it's one of the reasons why it's high-level programming language, and it is really flexible, and it's an open source programming language. That means it's free to use. You don't have to pay to use it. So the second question for day 2 was, aside from data analysis, what are the other applications of Python? So you can use Python for web development, for automation and scripting, machine learning, scientific computing, game development, cybersecurity, and a lot more. Like I said, you can always download this notebook from my GitHub, and I'll put a link in the description. So there are multiple applications of Python. Okay, so just go to question 3. So write a Python code to print welcome to code April. So if you're using the print thing, just type print welcome to code April. So just type this, welcome to code April. And the fourth question for the day one was write a Python code that asks for your name. So using the input, so let me just create a new thing here. So you just say if you do input, so using the input function, so when you run this, it asks you for what you want to put in. So you enter something, so that's what you put. So you using, okay, let me just cut this, escape. Okay, so if you put, for example, what is your name? What is your name? So by the time if you run this, it asks you what is your name. I can just put Promise here. Promise. Okay. So that's it. So in this case, we want to print it out and using the F string. Again, I have tutorials on all this in my channel. So if you want to go through, I can also put a link to where I talked about Python strings, F string, and things like that to print what's your name. So we'll then move over to day two. Day two, variable type. The focus for day two was variable type, variables, data type, and basic operation. So the first question was, how can you determine the type of a variable? So you determine the type of a variable by printing the function type and also the variable you want to print. So if I use type, for example, and let me make 50, it's going to print this as integer. Or if I use type, let me say promise, let me use this promise, it shows you that it's a string. So by using the type method or function, it gives you the type of that object or the type of the variable. So the second question for day two, write a Python program that declares two variables a and b, storing an integer value in a, that's a storing an integer value and b storing a float value. So okay, this was it. A equals to 20 and b equals to 45.6. Now say perform basic arithmetic operations, so addition, subtraction, using these variables a and b, and print out the results. So like this, a plus b, so using your plus sign, manual subtraction. So those are all applicable in this case. I think so far it's been simple, right? Then day three, so that was all for day two. Wow, that was very short. Day three, the focus for day three was indexing, string methods, and formatting. So the first question was explain. So the first exercise for day three was explain the difference between single quotes, double quotes, and triple quotes in Python strings. So you can see strings are used to so when you want to write string data type, you can enclose them in either single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes. So for single quotes, you can use them interchangeably. Single or double quotes can be used interchangeably, doesn't matter. So, yeah, but for triple quote, when you want to write more multiple line scripts, so for example, if I want to write let's say I want to use double quotes, and let me say I want to write promise and enter let's say it's already returning an error. So if I do this, for example, this is already throwing an error. If I use the same thing for double quotes, it's still going to be an error for me. Let me take this out. So it's still returning an error. But if I use triple quote, for example, so if I do this, so triple quote, so this wouldn't be an error. It shows that's a new line. So if you want to write multiple lines of string, so you can use your triple quote, but single quote or double quote can be used interchangeably. So but for example, if you want to write something, if I want to write something like this is a markdown, let me use a string. So if I want to write let's say I want to use the apostrophe, I am promise. So if I was going to use the single quote for this one, it's going to return an error because it's seeing this quote, this of second quote as the end of the closing of the first quote. So if I have this kind of case, it's better to use the double quote outside so that the inside wouldn't be picked as closing that quote. And that's that. So we're still on day three. So write a Python code to demonstrate at least two string methods. So there are different methods you can use. So that we have string.upper to change everything to uppercase. You have string.lower for lowercase. Then split. So if you have something like, okay, let me split this into, so okay, for example, if I have this, so in cases where I want to split, so I have code April, so I can choose to split using, so let me do string.split. Just copy this, do string.split I want to, so the default split is we're using the space. But if I want to split, let me say I want to split using A, for example. So wherever it says A, it breaks it there. So it takes out the A. But the default, if you don't call anything inside, the default is space. So that's fine. So doing that, it's like just doing this splitting using space, and that's the default anyway. Then you could also try title case, so just take the first item to title and replace one item with another item. So very simple. Python is very, very simple. Then the third question is create a Python program that prompts the user to enter a string and then prints out the length of a string. So using the input, like I mentioned earlier, using the input, you enter your string, then print using the length function. The length function can help you see how many items you have in that string. Remember, the space between the item is also classified as an item within the string. Then the fourth question for day 3 was using index slicing, write a program to reverse code April output. So you're using this code April. So if you remember indexing, I can also link a video where I address talk about Python indexing in full. So click on that if you're not sure what to do here. Just click there so you understand what Python indexing means. We'll move over to day 4. So we're still on week 1. Day 4 was focused on control loops, control flow loops, and conditional statements. So like for loops, while loops, and if statements. So what's the difference between if, elif, and else statement? So if is to check for a condition. So your if statement, if you want to, if this is true. If is like, it's usually the beginning of an if statement. So you say if a condition is this, then if the condition is true or if the condition is false, do X, Y, Z. Then the if statement is more like, okay, if this condition is not met, try this other condition. So for example, I want to say if X is greater than 50, print X is greater than 50, or elif, or if X is, so it's more like if this is not met, try this, while the S kind of ends that block of if code. So if this is not true, else the other, what you have to do if none of these conditions are met. Yeah, okay. So the second question for the 4 was write a programming. Yeah, the second question was write a Python program that prompts the user to enter a positive integer. Then using a for loop, the program should print the sum of all the numbers from 1 to n inclusive. Okay, so I don't know if you're, so let's see, let me try to write this anymore. So let's break it down. So when you see a code like this, instead of first kind of getting scared, try to kind of dissect them, break them down into smaller bits where you can understand. So the first is, okay, enter the number. So input, so this is the first part of the first part of the question that prompts the user to enter a number. Okay, so let's say you enter the number. So let's enter 15, for example. Okay, so yeah, so now my number is 15. So if I print out number would be 15, right? So the next part of the question is then using a for loop, the program should print the sum of all the numbers from 1 to n inclusive. So so we can use range. So if I do, for example, range 15, so it's a Python function, so everything between 0 to 15. But since they say, and if you're doing, so let's try this. So let's say let's print all the items for n in range 15, print n. So I need to do enter print n. Okay, so it prints from 0 to 14, but the question said n inclusive, so we have to make it, so to make it just add +1, so it prints everything from 1 to 15. So that's all good, right? So the next part of the question is we want to sum everything. So there are different ways to go about it, but I think the easiest and the most straightforward place, you could just create let's say make it 0. So if you use the incremental iterator where you can continuously add to a particular item, so you could say count, let's say count. So for this, you can say count plus equals to n. So what this is telling you is if you go through the first time, so since my count is 0, so when it goes through the first time to 0.001 plus 0, so it just continuously adds that to it. By the time you run through everything, by the time I run through everything and I print count would then be the total number of everything. So if you do this manually, you see that everything sums up to 120. Okay, so I think the same thing. So everything is just that's the breakdown of what you can see on this code. So let's see, let me make this 15 also and see what does this. So the sum from 0 to 15 is 120. So I printed it as you go. So the more you add in, you're saying that. So the next question for day 4 is write a Python program that takes an integer input from the user and prints whether it's odd or even. So even numbers are numbers divisible by 2. So if you divide by 2, your the remainder should be 0. So if you divide by 2, this modulus sign gives you the remainder. So since the remainder is 1, so to know an even number, the remainder has to be 0. So if this is this print, it is an even number. But if it is that, so if, for example, let me print this and let's make it, let's say 21, for example. 21 is an odd number. If let me see, run this and again and say, okay, let me put 26 this time. It shows 26 is an even number. So it shows you that this is an even number. So I think that's a solution, simple solution for that. Then the fourth question is write a Python program that prompts the user to enter their age, and based on the age entered, the program should print one of the following messages. So if you are a child, if you are less than 18, said that you are a child. If you are between 18 and 65, you are an adult, and if you are greater than 65, you are a senior. So it's just about using if statement. So if you tell the user to input their age, so write some if statement. Remember I talk about if, else. So if the age is less than 18, it prints you're a child. If it's less than 18, greater than. So if the age is greater than 18 but less than 65, so it's doing this. For example, let me see. So this statement here, you can also write it as so if age control X, let's say if age is greater than, let me see, in this case should be this, is if it's greater than 18, and so you can do like an age less than 65. So this same thing is just the same thing here. So it's just more efficient and doing that. So it's more like if the age is greater than 18 and also the age is less than 65, less than or equals to 65, it should be an adult. And if you're a senior, so if else, I can also do, rather than doing else, you could do else if greater than 65, you're a senior. But if we've covered all the options, so what's left would be senior, right? So I think that's what that is. Then day 5, we're going quickly. Day 5, you and add, okay, let's say day 5 was focused on functions and modules. Functions and modules are very important in Python to help efficiency whatever you do. So the question 1 is what are functions in Python and why are they useful? So I just read what I have here. Function in Python are blocks of reusable code that performs a specific task. So the idea of programming is to make things efficient. So when you see yourself doing the same thing, it's a key to write functions so that you don't have to repeat all the code you need to do whenever you need to run that process. If you turn it into a function, all you need to do is to call the function and you get your result. Okay, so they allow you to combine code into a single unit that can be called whenever needed, making the code more modular, readable, and maintainable. Okay, why are they useful? Like say they are reusable, so you could just read through. I don't have to spend time going through. So, but I think the major thing is the ability to reuse. So it makes your code very kind of organized, clean, and understandable rather than repeating things over and over again. So it makes it reusable, and it can help you debug. So for example, if you need to change something in your function, rather than trying to track up where you've written all the codes, you just change the function. It applies to everything wherever you've used that function. So let's just go down. So the second question is write a Python function that takes 3 numbers and return the sum of the number. So there are different ways to go about it. So I have option 1 where you could just say take in 3 numbers. So in this case, so I think I should just put sum num3. So and it returns the sum, let's say num3. So whenever you run this function, let's say make it 5. So it always takes 3 inputs and it returns the sum of all the numbers. Or you could do this where you use num3. Let's just do num3 plus num3. So whatever you use, it just depends on what you prefer. So remember, to write a Python function, you use the def as a keyword, then you put the name of the function you want to create and put in all the argument inside. And so the second part of the question was take a Python function that takes two numbers a and b as input and returns their differences. So just do this different. So there are different ways. So you can say, okay, it takes in num1, num2, return num1 minus num2. So in this case, you're having a negative. So if you always want it to be a positive, regardless of whether you have a bigger number or a smaller number, you could use the absolute. So if it's a negative, it should absolute ensures you always have the positive outcome. Okay. Or you could use if statement to kind of, it's more complex, more like say, okay, if num2 is greater than num1, return num2 minus num1, or if num1 is greater else. So it's just depending using if statement. So with one thing, good thing about Python is you can do the same thing in different ways. So it just depends on which you prefer and which is more convenient for you. The next question, the third question, okay, a Python function that takes a number as input and returns a square root. So with Python, there are different ways to get your square root. You could use the power. So when you use Python, when we did numeric operations, you could see the different numeric operations you have. If you participated in the challenge, among the resources we sent to you, you see where you see the different operations you can do. So using the multiplication sign twice shows you are going to a power of that thing, and to get the square root of something, if you did maths in school, if of power 1 over 2 shows you're getting the square root when you do all the calculation. But if you do that, it returns the square root. So this is one option. Or the second option is to use the math function, just import maths and say math the square root, just do dot square root, returns the square root of that. So it depends on whatever you feel like works comfortably for you. That's that question. So the third question is write a function the function called count vowel that takes a string as input and returns a count of all the vowels. So it's more like, okay, give it a string and it counts all the vowel inside the string. So in this case, okay, count the vowel. Okay, so I believe you should understand this. So you create a function. So the input will be string is equals to input. So the user has to input something. Then you use a for loop to say, okay, for I in string. So I use lowers just to normalize in case the input was in capital letter. It just normalizes it so that you count whatever. So there are different ways you can go about that. If you don't want to do dot lower, you can use you can also, for example, this is one option. Let me give you the second option. If I don't want to normalize this, so if I don't want to use this dot lower, not this one, let me come here. So if I don't want to use the dot lower here, I could just do a, and I have the same thing here in capital letter. I think this is more kind of complex, but you can just write the same thing in capital letter. So if you say for I in string, so for every item in string, so if any of these items is in any of these, count it. So using the incremental iterator, so at the end of the day, it counts what's the total number of strings. So it prints it. So for example, if I don't want to use, I just delete this. I think that's more kind of stressful. So if I say let me use code April now, code April. Okay, so it prints there are 4 vowels in code April. So 1, 2, 3, 4 vowels in code April. So this function automatically counts your vowels for you, so you can do the same thing for the others. Okay, so day 6, we are almost finishing the first week. Day 6 was focused on Python list method. Python lists are very important in Python programming. So the first question is explain the difference between append and extend method in Python list. So in Python, both append and extend method are used to add different elements to your list, but they you use them quite slightly different. So the append adds a single element. So if you're adding a string or an integer, but a single element to an existing list, you use the append method and it adds it to the last position in your list. But with the extend method, it's like you're extending the list, so you're adding another list to that list so that it extends, so you have it as one whole list. So I will see example of how you use extend list to extend. So now I say, so let's go to the second question. Say write a Python code that to demonstrate at least 2 list methods. So let's see, we have fruits. If we print the length of fruits, it gives you it gives you 5. So we have 5 items in fruits. So I think there's a typo here. 5 items in fruit. Then okay, let's see, append. So we want to append pineapple to fruit. So you see that if we not this, so this is it. So if we want to append pineapple to fruit, by the time we run fruit, see that pineapple has been added to our fruit. Extend. So I'm extending using a list. So not the difference with append. I'm just appending a string. In this case, I'm extending using a list. For example, if I take out this bracket, for example, it's going to add everything as their individual list, and this is not what we want. So the reason why we use this extend. So, I think I need to run this again. Yeah. So append fruits, then I run a banana. So if I run this, so it just adds banana for me. I don't add them individually. So that's why you use extend and this. You need to use your make sure you add a list to that list. So the next question, did you notice the difference between them? I think that's fine. Then if you want to sort using the fruit.sort, kind of sort them alphabetically. Okay, so you see that it has been sorted alphabetically. So the third question for this is write a Python program that asks the user to input 10 shopping items. Okay, so you have 10 shopping items, then assign the item to a list called shopping list, then sort the items in the list. So let's break it down. So assign a list called shopping list. Okay, so input. So whenever you say ask the user to input, so you always have to use the input. So that's where we use let's break this down. So let's take this in bits. Okay, input. So because we want to input 10 items, so rather than, so if I just say, let's say shopping list, if I do shopping list equals to input let's see, input enter, let's say enter your item. By the time I run this, they ask me to enter item. Let's say let me put grade. In this case, by the time I print out shopping list, I only have 1 item, but I want the user to enter multiple items, right? So that's why I used the for loop. So if I say, okay, let's just copy this, for example. So if you do this, let's see. So for item in range 10, so for every item in range, so we have to start from 0 to 10 to 9 now, because we're using so shopping list dot append. So I want to append, so remember I have my empty shopping list. Okay, so I want to enter an item, so for it will prompt the user to enter 10 items 10 times, but I just use the f string to tell to tell the user how many items do you have left to input. So for example, if I run this, you say please enter 1 of 10 items. If I say, let's say let me put socks, the next thing is 2 of 10 items, like you can see. So you just enter, let's just put that, did that, yeah, until you get to 10. So I think that's where, and then just end that loop. Oh no, hope I don't have to. Yeah, so okay, so I don't want to go through that. So that's what that first part is doing. So I think this is the first part of the shopping list. Yeah, then it prints out all your shopping list for you, right? Then it asks you, so this other part, so let me split this into 2. So what do I do? Let's enter the 10 items. So let's start with books. So now I have 10 items in my shopping list. So let's print out shopping list to see what I have in my shopping list. Okay, so I have 10 items in my shopping list. So this is what this part of the code does. So it prints out shopping list. I think that's fine. Then with this now, I want to take everything to lower because I want to check for milk. So I don't want to. It's always good to normalize your data so you can later take it up or lower, just so that you. So what this does is let's see. So takes everything just in case I had anything in capital later. You have some in lower later, lower caps too. So if I do this, you see that my shopping list has been sorted. So I sorted my shopping list from in alphabetical order. So then I want to check if milk is not in shopping list. So that's part of the question. Check if milk is in shopping list. If not, print no milk in shopping list. I replace the items with the item list with milk. So in this case, instead of using lower, let me use title instead, so that you have things in capital later. So yeah, so I want to check if milk. So I want to check if milk is in my shopping list. Print no. So if milk is not in shopping list, print no milk. And I want to replace. What did he say? Replace. The question is say replace. If not, replace the second item in the list with milk. Now the first item will be index 0. Second item will be index 1. So now if I print out shopping list, my milk has been added to my shopping list. So this has to be supposed to, yeah. So the second option is to, I think this is like more complex, but I just thought to do it. Yeah, so it's more like rather than entering one item at a time, you could enter multiple items just separated by comma. So you say while the length of the shopping list is less than 10 for number in range 10. So you want to print. So if we run this, I don't want to spec. So it's just more like it looks true. Item, so you say enter. So this is, you want to enter your item, so input, please enter the list of items in your cart separated by a comma. So then you can now split your items using comma by comma to get your all the items. So if you want to check, so now I want to check if the length is less than 10, it asks you to enter more items. So let's just try something. So if I enter 5 items, enter, so I need to say enter 5 more items and enter more. So how many items? I have 2 more items to add. What do I need to add? So let me just add milk. Let me do milk. Okay, so now it shows that I've added. So the same thing, and you check if milk is not in shopping list, then add milk. So since milk is in shopping list, there was no point to add milk to the shopping list again. So I didn't sort this. So you can always sort your lists. Okay, this is all sorted. Okay, I think that's it for the week 1, and the 7th day was the rest day. So okay, thank you for following along till this time. If you participated in the Code April challenge, let me know for the first week which was the most difficult. How did you find it, and how different was my solutions from your solution? And the good thing about Python, and you need to know about Python, is we have different ways to go about the same thing. I could do something different way, doesn't make yours less correct. So it just depends on different people, we approach problems differently. But this is just my way of how I would approach any of the exercises, but just might be different. So if you have something different from mine, I would like to know what you did in the comment section.